Hey folks, so a little something different today. I get a lot of questions kind of around career path stuff. People have had a profound change in their health from eating something along like an ancestral diet, and they want to do a career shift and kind of get in and help people in the best way that they can, kind of move the ball forward on all of this. It's a huge opportunity, but man, I just have a million thoughts on this stuff. The health coaching topic, I think that health coaches in the future are going to be an absolutely indispensable piece of health and medicine as we move forward. People have tried spending billions of dollars on different types of apps that will like remind you to take your medications or go exercise or what have you, and these things just fail. Like they really don't work. The thing that really works is relationships with other people, a little bit of competition. This is some of the reason why CrossFit is so damn sticky. When you go into a well-run gym, the folks there will talk to you about sleep, food, circadian rhythm. They'll provide good exercise. That community element is just kind of baked in the cake. There's clearly some suffering, and so that mutual suffering is really powerful. I think you get some of that out of things like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and yoga also, but I would actually say that like CrossFit type gyms are maybe the epitome of where you can kind of consolidate all that stuff. And so the point being is that the human relationship is going to be critical to helping people move forward and make change. And as medicine modifies over time, like Chris Kresser wrote a phenomenal book about this topic, and in that he talks about how in the future we'll probably have some group health options. Instead of a doctor just talking to one diabetic patient at a time, they may talk to 10 or 20 of them at a time. And that sounds like you're actually decreasing the quality, but interestingly, the adherence is almost better because everybody is in the same boat. They're experiencing the same stuff. Oftentimes somebody asks a question that somebody else was afraid to ask. And again, you start building relationships, you start building accountability and whatnot. And so I do think that these health coach opportunities are legit. Chris Kresser's ADAPT program is great. Mark Sisson has a program. There are lots of others out there, Precision Nutrition. The thing about all of that, though, is that it's totally the Wild West. There is typically no insurance reimbursement for this type of stuff. You have to be very entrepreneurial to get out and do it. I would argue that very few people are actually making a legitimate living doing health coaching yet. It's still a new enough entity that folks aren't really too sure what to do. They're already kind of crushed, at least in the United States, with insurance costs and what have you. There may be some opportunities in other places around the world if they integrate the health coaching into their systems. Could be some opportunity there, but it's really a new entity. Another piece to this, though, that folks oftentimes don't consider, and this is true whether you're looking at opening a gym, a jiu-jitsu gym, yoga, whatever, people have very different risk tolerance. And not just the individual has different risk tolerance, but the relationship that you're typically in. So like Nikki and I, we are pretty lucky in that we are largely on the same page with how much risk we're willing to bite off on. We try to mitigate our downside as much as possible. We definitely try to live well within our means so that if this whole like hawking health thing goes away, we have some fairly easy adjustment and fallback. And we've always been good about kind of drawing some lines in the sand. Like when we ran our gym, it was very hard to get it going. If you guys aren't familiar with the story, we co-founded the 4th CrossFit affiliate gym in the world. So when we started that, the term CrossFit was meaningless to people. Like it wasn't a household term like it is now. So it was interesting. We went through a whole interesting cycle there where we had to sell people on what CrossFit was, and there was probably a 5 to 6 year period of that. And then there was a little 2 to 3 year period of time where the term CrossFit sold itself. And now we're in this long tail period where oftentimes you have to explain, hey, we're not actually a CrossFit gym, because although CrossFit's great in many regards, there's some kind of quality control, injury, overtraining issues that are just kind of baked in the cake. And it's not taking a hit or an attack on CrossFit. It's just kind of the way it is. At least that's my perspective on it. Anyway, but the point being is that it was hard getting the gym going. We struggled for a long time. And what we would do is set out 3 and 6 month goals and say, hey, if we aren't at this benchmark of income or the number of people in the gym that we need, we're going to wrap this thing up and do something else. And what it did then is it made us hustle like crazy, because we did actually enjoy doing that stuff, but we also just couldn't infinitely throw resources down that process and not have some sort of a reasonable return on it. But again, both Nikki and I were pretty comfortable with the amount of risk that we were taking on. We've seen a lot of people where the spouse maybe has a government job or kind of a guaranteed income. They've been in this thing for a long time. And those people get hives from the idea of entrepreneurism and unknown. And that's a really big factor that you have to consider. So it's not just your individual risk tolerance, but your situation, how comfortable are you with maybe not having time off or not significant amounts of time off, nothing guaranteed in the realm of time off. My life is pretty cool, so I'm doing this stuff from my backyard right now, but there are absolutely no guarantees with what I'm doing. If the opinion around paleo, low carb, ancestral health swings dramatically in a negative direction, then I'm done. You know, I have to go figure out what the next play is, which is probably raising goats and sheep back here. But and that honestly is a little bit of the decision of why we moved here. We kind of cashed out of a suburban sprawl, really nice house, and got an old beat up farmhouse that we remodeled, and now we have a patch of dirt that we can do some other stuff on, both to teach kids but also to just kind of have that quality of life. But I know there's a long rambling deal, but I just had a pretty impassioned email and I wanted to jump in on this. Again, the health coaching thing is a really fascinating topic. It's very new. There are absolutely no guarantees in it. If you do it, I wouldn't necessarily burn all the boats straight out of the gate. Like, maybe figure out a way of going part-time and what your normal gig is, and have a ton of conversation with your significant other, and really, really pressure test like how comfortable you and they are with the type of risk that you're going to take on in the unknown with doing something like this, because it is not a guaranteed deal. There are other opportunities too, like if you want to do something that is more in the health and wellness field, doing something like a physician assistant program, a registered dietitian, there's other options too, but you can, with a fairly nominal amount of upfront investment, you can get plugged into a system. And let's say you do a physician assistant program, you could find a functional medicine clinic to work with. You might find a doctor or a remote coaching platform, something like Virta or something like that, where you could have a lot of autonomy, but you're kind of operating within the guidelines of the established medical scene. So those are other options too. There's more upfront cost associated with it, but then you might have a little bit more of a guarantee and a little bit of a safety net on the back end. So anyway, I hope this was helpful. Hope it wasn't totally spastic and all over the place, but where in the beginning of doing this stuff several years ago, many years ago now, the vast majority of the questions that I received were basically protein, carbs, fat, health related. I would say about 50% of the questions we receive now are kind of career path and what should I do next. And so I'll probably devote a little bit more time towards trying to address that stuff and provide some resources for folks to make decisions. So hope you all are well. Take care.